It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
All righty, into the final hour of 9 to noon. And as we have mentioned earlier, it's time to take a look at, in very cursory fashion, with rights to change opinions as players come and players go, and OTA happens. Then you get up to minicamp and training camp and stuff like that. But Nordo and I thought it would be cool to look at position groups and what the Minnesota Vikings have done so far in free agency, and then maybe cast our gaze the way of pick 24. And see how it ties into everything. Doesn't that sound like just a ton of fun, Mr. Nordo?
It does, because we play this game getting to 53 every summer. Now, this isn't something we've typically done in March, but PA, this isn't a typical situation for the Vikings where it isn't just plugging in a player that makes sense with the money that they have. They are sitting on cash. The face of various position groups has markedly changed over the last 4 days.
No doubt.
It's been a blast. It's been a whirlwind, and we're all just hanging on to the rails on the Kwesi train. But the idea of this thing looking so much different still with the draft ahead is awesome. So I think we need to get our head right around where we currently are and where we can move forward.
All right, now first, the preseason games. All right, I know that's weird, but hear me out. Under the absolute assumption, J.J. McCarthy is quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, should it be right and just for him to play more than just play some preseason games more so than a regular one quarterback generally does? I say absolutely yes. And really, no matter the level of competition in the preseason. But I'm really hoping we have some joint practices this training camp. Those would be vital for young JJ. Now, again, this is predicated that really nothing splashy or really any long shots hit or anything changes. And if minds change and longer shots hit, then 9 to noon changes and we move on from there. Let's begin with special teams. All right, special teams. Long snapper, Serpo. Kicker, the Alabama kid. Punter, Ryan Wright. That's set in stone. Kick return. Does it even matter? Not as much as it used to, but we can mesh kick return and punt return, and also with the draft. All right. Now, there's this cat who played at Colorado for the Buffaloes. His name is Jimmy Horn Jr. My man might go undrafted, or he might be taken. Well, he's going to be taken on Saturday. Could be deep on Saturday, rounds 5, 6, or 7, 4, 5, 6, or 7. But it would be deeper. And he's 175 pounds, and he stands 5'8". All right, so those measurables don't necessarily resonate with a lot of the analytics that go into the National Football League. Jimmy Horn Jr. might be an elite returner, not a good returner, an elite returner in the National Football League. His straight line speed is absolutely... It's elite. It's not terrific. It's elite. I've seen him play live. I've watched him play a bunch on television. Twitchy, and Jimmy Horn Jr. Is kind of a wild card in special teams if they're looking for maybe a new and or better version of Brandon Powell. Now, you get to the offense, all right? And the Minnesota Vikings yesterday signed veteran tackle Justin Skule. 17 starts in his career, 5 last year with Tampa Bay. Darrisaw's ACL was in late October. So expecting him to be the starting left tackle game 1 of the regular season, I think is a longer shot. I don't think it's a no shot, but it's a longer shot. So offensive line, Minnesota Moving Company, let's start like this. Left tackle to start, the Skule cat, main man Skule. Next to him, Blake Brandel. Then Ryan Kelly at center, Will Fries right guard, Brian O'Neill right tackle. Do they draft an offensive lineman at 24 and start him at left guard? The top backups for now would be Walter Rouse and Michael Juergens, a couple of guys in their second years. All right, so Skule, Brandel, Kelly, Fries, O'Neill, Rouse, and Juergens as top backup. offensive lineman at 24. What do you think about all that?
Well, I think if they do go offensive lineman, it certainly is spot. I'm thinking guard in that particular scenario. But the way you laid it out, even so, the Vikings had 9 on the O-line on their roster to start opening day last year. And this was even while Dalton Reisner, by the way, started the season on IR. So 9 effectively plus 1. You picture the idea if maybe Darisaw starts the season on IR, the combination of are you drafting a big fat guard at 24? Are you potentially then bringing a Quessenberry back? Because in the end, from a depth standpoint, you're replacing Ingram, who's moved on. You're replacing Dalton Reisner. You're replacing Dan Feeney, who was on the roster. And now, with the news regarding Garrett Bradbury, you're anticipating that he's maybe not on the roster. So bringing a Quessenberry type back is very important. But as that lays out right now, it's School and / Darisaw into Brandell, Kelly, Fries, O'Neal. I like where you're at on that.
I don't make offensive line favored at 24, but if they take an offensive lineman, specifically a guard, like you said, at or around 24, wouldn't surprise any of us. And it would continue to fortify clearly what has been the theme and the common thread with the Minnesota Vikings this offseason to beef up the beef. All right, to wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Nailor. That's where we are. Cooper Kupp speculation all week. Players going here, players leaving. But Jefferson, Addison, and Nailor, that's a nice 3. Wide receiver in the draft at any of the picks, I think, is a long shot. Finding one in college free agency, or maybe like Jimmy Horn Jr. technically is a wide receiver. So if they were to draft him late because they like his return skills, that would qualify as a receiver. But Jefferson, Addison, Nailor, and here they are.
Yeah, and currently on the roster you have Tristan Jackson, Jayshon Jones, but I'm not anticipating that these individuals are going to be the answer to that spot. So adding a veteran wide receiver, you mentioned Brandon Powell taking up a wide receiver spot, but being part of the punt return, kick return conversation. Ty Chandler was an individual that was also available for the kick return at times. Once it was pretty obvious they weren't going to use him at running back. But I look at this as being the conversation's not over on adding a veteran wide receiver via free agency. That's what I would look out for. The steam on Cooper Kupp or whoever else it might end up being. I think that's how you're going to fill out that part of the roster with the wide receiving core. So shaping up everything as I get my updates on the depth chart as things fall out, futures contracts and all of that. You nailed it with the 3 whose names are most important to this right now on the roster, that being Jefferson, Nailor, and Addison. So we're completely in lockstep there. They did keep 6 last year. They are replacing Powell. They are replacing Trent Sherfield. And how they get to that 6 number again, if that's what they're trying to do, they got some work to do.
Now, preseason fans go crazy. I believe Tristan Jackson has gone to Arizona. Jayshon is somebody they liked last year. But like you said, we're talking about depth products here. 24 in the draft, or really anywhere in the draft for a wide receiver, like we both kind of said. I think that's a long shot. To the tight ends, TJ Hawkinson and Josh Oliver. Those are the only 2 on the roster. Johnny Munt leaves via free agency. Hawkinson and Oliver, good tight ends draft. We've talked about that ever since I got back from the combine. I wonder where they get 1 or 2 more. This for the 24th overall pick in the draft is actually a puncher's chance long shot. Because, if the steam that I gathered in Indianapolis is accurate, that there are 4 to maybe 8 or 9 tight ends who can help now or maybe in the very near future. That gets us into what's next for TJ Hawkinson with his contract, what's next with Josh Oliver, who's now been here a few years. Like both of the players, they complement each other quite well. It goes back to the age-old, if you're a defensive coordinator, pick your poison. If they come out with Hawkinson to the left of the left tackle and Oliver to the right of the right tackle, are you going to play 4-3 base? You're going to go into nickel? You're going to go into dime? It gives O'Connell excellent flexibility with run and or pass, but they only have 2 of them right now. If they drafted one, I wouldn't be surprised. You?
I wouldn't be surprised either. I'd be surprised maybe if it was at 24, but I would not be surprised if they added a body. At the beginning of the year last year, they had Munt, Oliver, and Nick Muse on the roster while TJ was still recovering from the knee. So they need at least one more. If that is one of their day two, they got pick 97. They got a couple of late ones now. And they did pick up, I think back, what was it? That's for 2026 with the Bradbury bit, but or Ingram rather. But the idea of adding a tight end, they will end, I believe, with 3. For J.J. McCarthy, let's bring the kid along. What's better than having a nookie-blanky tight end or two to help raise him?
Yep, no doubt. With young quarterbacks, they have a tendency to lean on tight ends. And as we saw with Oliver last year, specifically those 3 touchdowns he had in lickety-split fashion, Josh can be used in the passing game more so than maybe some think. TJ is a catch-first tight end, and he got himself really healthy at the end of the year, scored a touchdown in the playoff game, was missed several times in big spots at Ford Field. So I expect a full-throttle TJ Hawkinson to help quarterback du jour for the Minnesota Vikings in 2025. Now, to that aforementioned quarterback spot, McCarthy, Rippon, a veteran to be housed later, and a quarterback in the draft is an absolute no for me. I don't believe they'll draft a quarterback with a pick, but I do absolutely believe they will bring a college free agent project in, somebody who's hand-picked potentially by Kevin O'Connell or a member of the offensive staff, but that's where I am with that. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a veteran QB of some sort that's added via free agency. And, the one thing you mentioned, the college free agents, and we haven't even gone through the defense yet.
Right.
Whether it is a wide receiver, whether it is a tackle, with the limited draft capital and the way that this team has found some success in recent years with college free agents that can come in. I mean, right now, and once we get to the defense, whether it's Gabriel Murphy, we know about Ivan Pace's story, et cetera. It could be a wideout. It could be a running back, somebody that has experience that goes undrafted. I wonder, will we have 15 or 20 undrafted free agents in the building in some ways, not just to create spots of competition, but to level up considering the lack of general draft equity that the team has. So whether it's a college free agent, the Max Brosmer types, although some are saying Max could be drafted, so we'll see how that plays out. But a lot of guys end up getting pushed into the undrafted market. It will be McCarthy. It's J.J. McCarthy season. Let's get pumped up about that.
Same.
And it's Brett Rippon. And I am so agnostic in some ways on Brett Rippon just because the team likes him.
Right.
But I don't know much about him other than what I've seen and with his various stops. So best of luck to Rippon, but we're definitely, I think, going to add a veteran to this mix.
And Nordo and I, if you just jumped in, what we're doing is we are, pairing what the Vikings have done in the first part of free agency. So the bulk of the Minnesota Vikings free agents already have been signed. And some of the players returning, like Aaron Jones and or Theo Jackson or Ryan Wright, they're in the mix. And then with the draft coming up in a month and change, the Vikings' first pick is slotted at 24. So we're kind of looking at the depth chart and like who would start and why, with rights to change the opinions now as we head into mid-March, and it gets us to running backs, where with running backs, as of now, Aaron Jones, C.J. Ham, Ty Chandler. All right, so you got those 3. So draft one at 24. That's absolutely in play. I might make it favored. I would either make that favored. That's tough because when we get to the defense, we'll talk about these tackles and then the situation at corner. But absolutely drafting a running back in a super deep running back draft, drafting one at 24 wouldn't surprise me. You?
Yeah, in terms of 24 in general, I mean, I'm not breaking news here. I still look down through the lens of it being a 3-horse race of if they absolutely love a guard at 24, if they absolutely love one of those game-changing inside defensive linemen, and, based on the term and the age of even, Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, we're super happy that they're here.
Right.
Are those guys names for the next 7 years? No, they're not. And this is a super deep draft of defensive tackle talent.
Mm-hmm.
And then running back associated with that too. The Vikings started the year with Jones, Chandler, and C.J. Ham.
Right.
That's how they started it last year. Now, we do know that they ended up picking up Akers later on. In this case, I would believe if they draft a guy at 24, that doesn't mean that Ty Chandler's time with the Vikings is over. I would actually anticipate that they would keep a fourth guy if they're going to draft a running back. He's a kid. He's got to grow up. We need to know exactly what we have from him. And so maybe a little security and protection there. But 24, because, and I'm not pretending that I've looked at every single running back that is available, but we talked about it prior. The importance of re-signing Aaron Jones was that we did really have to dig in and create a pros and cons list for the Rico Dowdles and the Najee Harrises of the world. And Najee gets on the field, gets 1,000 yards a year. That's super cool. Does he fit in this system? We're happy that we have Aaron Jones back. The step now is to pair that with a rookie. I would make running back either 24 or 97 as of now in March.
Yeah.
Is going to be a running back. That's how I see it.
And Jimmy Horn Jr., mentioned for a fifth time. He's a trick.
You love Jimmy Horn.
I love him. Yeah, absolutely. At the family game against Cincinnati, Shermer runs a play on second down to get them to the left hash mark. Okay, didn't care if they got a first down or not. He just wanted to get to the left hash mark because he knew the next play was going to get Jimmy Horn Jr. singled up against some L for Cincinnati.
And the 4-2 took over?
Shador ran a play action where it absolutely looked like Travis Hunter in the middle of the field was the option, but he hit Jimmy Horn Jr. quickly. Now, here's the story. Jimmy Horn Jr. shakes on this guy, and he is gone. But we learned a lesson about college football rules that day at old Folsom Stadium. Jimmy blew by him with that elite speed, and as he was heading into the end zone, he waved bye-bye to him. Okay? Well, here come the flags. Yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, let's not taunt. It's not preferred.
Right.
But then from the 15, they backed it up to the 30, and I'm like, what? So what, the touchdown doesn't count in college football?
Oh, wow, they nullify it in college.
Didn't know that. I absolutely had no idea. It's a spot foul when you taunt.
Oh, come on.
So Jimmy Horn Jr. came over to the sidelines, and there's Dion, and there's Peaches, and a good googly go.
Well, I've been watching Tyreek Hill giving people the peace sign for years now. And if Jimmy Horn can do that, and he's got great hands.
Right.
From a size standpoint, he fits in your carry-on luggage. Like now I love Jimmy Horn. And I just found out about him 5 minutes ago. Yeah,
Jimmy doesn't complain about middle seats on planes. In fact, he prefers them. With Jimmy Horn Jr., man, that's I'm not going to compare him to Percy Harvin, but he plays all over the place. And he's a specialist, too. So that, as the running backs topic goes,
ooh.
And I have no steam on Jimmy Horn Jr.
Jet motions and end arounds.
Yeah. I mean, I just figured that I watched every Colorado Buffaloes game the last couple of years because my daughter goes to school there, and I went to two. So I'm like, hey, I got some Jimmy Horn Jr. opinions, some Shador Sanders, some Travis Hunter, Shiloh Sanders, and things like that. Might as well share.
So we sat at 24 last year on opening day, PA, and just kind of summing up the offense, adding a vet QB, going with the third running back via drafting a kid, or if we're including CJ, technically that would be 4. Figuring out the OL with the O-line with a Quessenberry type, adding a tight end, that's a potential draft spot. But we got to find some veteran wide receivers probably outside of the draft conversation there, too.
We are seeing it in lockstep as we roll to the defense. You're listening to 9 to noon into the in the final hour. And we're taking a look at the Minnesota Vikings post the major part of free agency for them and everybody else, with the draft looming and kind of what we think the starters look like and the key backups and stuff like that. And there they are.
Does Jimmy Horn play defense? Let's start there.
Jimmy Horn Jr., okay? And Jimmy, taunting in the NFL does not nullify touchdowns, but we prefer you don't taunt.
Yes.
Okay, 3-2. Defensive line. Harrison Phillips, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, Taki Taimani, Jalen Redmond. Jonathan Harris is in the covenant. Jonathan Harris played for Carolina last year.
Oh.
Played 7 games, was with the Bears originally, I believe, but he's a veteran, so therefore I put him in the mix. So now with those names there, assuming I'm not missing anybody.
So Levi Drake Rodriguez might be on the outside?
Nope, Levi Drake, LDR. Yes, LDR. Levi Drake Rodriguez, right. Thank you very much for that. So put him in there too. But when you get to 24 and when you start thinking about the draft, I mean, it's absolutely possible that they hit on a defensive lineman at 24. I mean, it's not only the over-talked but real depth and deep deep skill set of defensive tackles and defensive linemen, but your defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, uses 3 techniques at defensive end. He uses defensive ends as tackles. He uses edge guys as gap muggers, in essence, like they're inside linebackers. So the trickery and the position flexibility is very important to Brian and the defense here. At 24, with Phillips, Allen, Javon Hargrave, and I'd say probably Jalen Redmond, those would be the most significant 4 right now. Yeah, I mean, I can make defensive tackle or defensive lineman favored at 24, and I'd feel good about that.
Yeah, I'd feel good about it. You're replacing Jonathan Bullard, of course, and he did some terrific yeoman's work at D end.
Wouldn't mind having him back.
Specifically stopping the run.
Unless he got signed.
Jerry Tillery with a couple of knockdowns. Thank you for your service, Mr. Tillery.
Right.
It's obvious that we did get Allen and Hargrave to make sure that Jalen Redmond's always fresh, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
it's a NASCAR package.
Correct.
Yeah. Pete Carroll ran the NASCAR package with his defensive line. We're going to run the Formula One. We're going to run the Formula One package here.
Jalen Redmond as an undrafted rookie a year ago, or what was he, a rookie or second year? I think
second year.
Yeah, because he had
practice squad Carolina.
Was it XFL or UFL type experience prior to that? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he, let's not make him sound like he was this massive generational revelation. But how productive was he in spots?
He splashed.
It's super cool. It is on paper now a very deep group. You love the potential for rotation there. I do go back to what we were talking about while still handling the offense. That the age of an Allen, the age of a Hargrave, the ability to even add talent. If that comes up at 24 and it's like, I'm not reaching for this. I'm just going to get Kenneth Grant. I'm going to get Shamar Stewart. I'm going to get this guy and make good great. I'm in on that.
All right. Just a quick little recap for you with free agency and the bulk of it in the rearview mirror, the draft looming, and where we are now. Special teams for the Minnesota Vikings, Andrew DePaula, Will Reichert, Ryan Wright. If you need a punt and or kick returner, I'm pushing Jimmy Horn Jr. from Colorado. Then you get to the offensive line with Darrisaw's ACL. If they were to start the season with the new guy School at left tackle, then Brandell, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, and Brian O'Neill, we would not be surprised. Wide receivers, you got 3 who are going to play the most as of now. You got the draft, and you still got free agency, but Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Jalen Naylor, both Nordo and I deem wide receiver to be a long shot, really at any spot in the draft, but not college free agency. Tight ends, Hawkinson and Oliver, only 2 on the roster right now. Good tight end draft. They could draft one because it's a sneaky good tight ends draft from what we're being told. Quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, Brett Rippon, and a veteran to be housed at some point. Taking a quarterback with a pick in the draft, I believe, is a super long shot, but finding one as a college free agent is not. Running backs, Aaron Jones, C.J. Ham, Ty Chandler, drafting one at 24. Nordo and I are in lockstep in the fact that could happen because of how many good running backs there are. Then we scooted on over to the defense, and we'll finish the defense around the corner with defensive line, Harrison Phillips, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, Levi Drake Rodriguez, Taki Taimani, Jalen Redmond, Jonathan Harris, veteran from Carolina, and taking a defensive lineman, 3 technique and position flexibility guys, taking one of those guys around 24, that could be favored. That absolutely could be the move. Offensive lineman is probably what I would make second choice. Then I would make running back second-ish or third choice. And when we return, we'll hit the inside linebackers, the outside linebackers, the corners, and the safeties. You're listening to 9 to Noon on KFAN.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Into the penultimate 9 to noon on this beautiful Friday. Welcome back. Nordo and Paul Allen going through the Vikings' perceived depth chart, at least from Nordo and I, after the bulk of free agency has been handled and with the NFL draft a month and change away. Vikings, as of now, have 4 picks, and the first is pick number 24. And here we go with the inside linebackers. This was the easiest of the easy. Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace Jr., Brian Asamoah, college free agents or deep draft selections coming here. To use a pick on an inside linebacker, quite honestly, would shock me. But this team has been good finding players in college free agency, specifically linebacker types. So there they are.
Yeah, I Cashman, Pace, and Asamoah, they need to replace Kamu Grugier-Hill, who was on the squad a year ago. And, what I'm curious, with Metellus, we'll get to the secondary and such, Flores and his ability to, because it was 4 last year. Can they roll with 3? Do they need to get to 4? How are they playing the same plug-and-play numbers game that we are? I don't know. But after that, you're right. Right now, it is, I hate to call it a scrap heap. And as a matter of fact, maybe they could bring back a Kamu Grugier-Hill. But at this stage, this would not be something that Thursday night Vikings draft party that we're like, who are the inside linebackers at 24? Yeah. I couldn't fathom that happening. That's even 97. So looking at Saturday, by the time they get their final pick list or pick amount in play, I just don't see linebacker maybe as part of that, save for a deep Saturday or veteran free agent.
Yeah, this is a .0001 percenter.
It's not a 0.
That yours truly rolls into the Power Trip Morning Show, morning of the first round of the National Football League draft, and says with the 24th pick in the 2025 National Football League draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Anthony Barr. Where'd that come from? Nobody mentioned Barr for the last 2.5 months. Now all of a sudden he's going to be in the covenant. No, that won't happen with inside linebacker. You got Cash Money, Ivan Pace Jr., Brian Asamoah. Asamoah is just an enigmatic talker.
He is.
It's like he's fast. He had that, I think, a scoop on a blocked field goal, maybe by Tillery Dillery Doc at Soldier Field. And then he's turning up the field, ball's in his right hand, switches it to the left. I'm like, damn.
Whoa.
Some running back skills right there. And I think he did play running back early at Oklahoma, but certainly in high school. So good luck to Brian because he has a lot of talent. All right, outside linebackers. Outside linebackers in the business, we call them edge rushers. And like the inside linebacker situation, Mr. Nordquist, I believe that this is pretty much set in stone with Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner. Then you get Bo Richter and Gabriel Murphy.
Yeah.
All right, so it feels like it's set simply because Richter and Murphy went active late in the season last year. They both were highly touted behind the scenes and a little bit on the microphone during the preseason. So Mike Pettin, who coaches the outside linebackers, does wonderful work with them in raising Richter and Gabriel Murphy. Right there, we got Grenard, AVG, Dallas Turner, Richter, Gabriel Murphy. Maybe some college free agents like Richter and or Murphy, who were good hits last year. That's how I see it. What about you?
Yeah, I think, part of the tell is what you saw in terms of snap counts and the way that Grenard and Van Ginkel dominated this position group. Patrick Jones. In the end, you're sliding Gabe Murphy and Bo Richter into the spots that were Patrick Jones and Jihad Ward. And Jihad Ward came in and made a couple of plays. He must have, if they don't keep this stat, but the most almost sacks, almost splashing plays.
Bro, it was unbelievable.
He was an inch from the stat sheet, it feels like his entire career.
No, he was a statistical anomaly at one point of the season. It's like middle of the season, and my man had 0 tackles and 12 quarterback hurries. So it's like, how do you have 0? He's playing 20 some odd plays a game, but you're right about the Jihad Ward.
So I think, and again, part of this too, by the way, there's a ton of cash in the mix. Any of these positions we've talked about, technically you could see a veteran name pop in. We saw a veteran corner's name pop in within the last 24 hours. We'll get to him.
Yep.
But in terms of drafting and those sorts of things, all of this becomes Saturday and college free agent, I believe, as we find our way down this list.
All right, so let's get to the secondary. And from a secondary standpoint, those listening to 9 to Noon are Elite Football Minds, so you probably already know this. But if your pass rush is sound, well, that takes heat off your secondary, means you don't have to blitz as much as maybe they have in the past. And, if you believe Brian Flores wants his corners to get right up on the Jimmy Horn Jr.'s and the Devontae Adams of the world and try to bust them up the line playing man defense, then that's the way they will craft this. And we start with the re-signing of Byron Murphy Jr. Nordo and I, absolutely fans of that. Yes,
pumped for it.
Yes, sir. Byron Murphy Jr.
Yes, sir.
You got a new deal. Yes, sir. Taking care of that lineage, aren't you? Yes, sir. Byron Murphy Jr. Love the guy, man. Really happy he's back. Isaiah Rodgers, all right, with that 4.2 speed, came into the league with Indy, got a Super Bowl ring with the Philadelphia Eagles, was a part-time player. Mekhi Blackmon, ACL, out last year, back this year. He'll be in the covenant for sure. But how much will he play? That's to be determined. Then you have Dwight McGlothern, nickname is Nudie, looking to undress wide receivers on a play-by-play basis. A shutdown corner at 24. Any form of corner at 24 to amplify or complement what they have now, yeah, that could happen.
I think it could happen. I will say I don't believe that it will. I think that the amount of focus on the defensive front that can mask inadequacies in other areas, and this guy's had a good career, but kind of a gun for hire. I wouldn't be surprised if like a Shaq Griffin type returns to the team.
Yep, or like Gilmore, like something like that. 1 year,
exactly.
Later in career makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and they did bring Tavier Thomas, who has some time spent in the NFL at corner. One name, because you're kind of including in the way that we were talking about, like a Brandon Powell's a wide receiver, but he did kick return stuff.
Jimmy doesn't play corner.
No, he does not, but he can learn. Najee Thompson was hurt all year. He's a special teams demon. He cannot play corner to save his life.
No.
I'm only bringing him up because he would be one of those guys that takes a spot but doesn't actually perform those duties.
Great point. And Najee Thompson, I don't even know what the leg injury was, man, but like he was just out of sight.
Yeah, complete non-factor.
Complete non-factor, but I never saw him the whole year. So hopefully things are well with him. I'm glad you brought his name up because he was developing into one of the best gunners in the National Football League. My man was a demon on the outside. So go crazy, Najee Thompson. Welcome back to the Covenant, and hopefully things work well. Closing here, safeties. Harry the Hitman. He gets it again. It's 14 years. It's football immortality. It's a Hall of Fame trajectory. Cut his cash so the village could eat. And so we're going to put Hitman, Josh Metellus, Theo Jackson, Jay Ward, Bubba Bolden, practice squad guy.
Yeah, that's got to be practice squad.
Never has played, but again, like Isaiah Rodgers, it just caught me off guard. You got all these big names going all over the place, and we move on Isaiah Rodgers and Bubba Bolden in the early stages of free agency, which has a feel that, we feel we have found untapped talent.
Right.
And we don't want anybody to jack around with it, so you guys can move on the big names like we are too with Kelly and Fries and Hargrave and Allen and so on. But Bubba Bolden, he's in the mix for now.
The problem is you hear Isaiah Rodgers and then you hear Bubba Bolden. You don't know about Allen and Fries and all these, so you're thinking the GM's losing deals.
Right.
You think he's losing battles on the market.
He doesn't lose deals.
I first saw the post and I'm like, Bubba Bolden. I thought that said Buda Baker. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting.
I thought Anquan Bolden came out of retirement. I'm like, damn, he's going to play safety. 0%er for me at the 24 spot with the safety. Somewhere in the draft, yeah, I absolutely can see that, specifically given where Harrison Smith is in his career. What do you think of that?
Yeah, final year of Metellus' deal, will they extend him? Hitman, year-to-year basis, maybe his last year now after 14 terrific seasons upcoming and all. I think this is actually a sneaky position of need. Jay Ward couldn't sniff the field because of those in front of him, special teams work and all of that. I wouldn't call this a complete zero because I think you do look at this spot and the way Flores has deployed Metellus and best of luck to Cam Bynum, the way he's used him throughout his time here. I think that's, but it's still like the 5% type, I think, from a safety spot. But I have the same for Bubba Bolden on the practice squad. We're raising Bubba on the practice squad. We got Theo 2 and 12. Metellus will get extended. Yeah. And we're ready to rock with this defense.
That's how 9 to noon sees it. Thank you very much for listening to the official, unofficial March depth chart for the Minnesota Vikings post the bulk of free agency And in advance of the draft and beginning next week, that's where we will cast our gaze, at least we believe we will, depending on what happens over the weekend. He's Eric Nordquist. I'm Paul Allen. You're listening to 9 to Noon.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
I can't wait until tomorrow. 'Cause tomorrow.
Final segment, 9 to noon. Final couple of minutes in truncated fashion. PA on his way to a weekend getaway. Big thanks to Lieber. Big thanks to Chad Greenway joining throughout the first hour. Heavy on Vikings conversation. Trying to find their way and our way to the right answer regarding Aaron Rodgers. Nate Tice, Mike Tice's son, working for Yahoo, NFL Network, does Football 301. Cool podcast, but elite film breakdown from him during the 10 a.m. hour. And really where we're at right now, speaking of the quarterback spot, if Rodgers isn't part of that equation, I have to reiterate, I'm kind of interested to know exactly what the level of urgency is. I kind of want to hear some of these other names pop. Is it going to be the Flacco? Is it going to be how fun would it be just to get to meet and have Jameis Winston on your team? What are the other names that are potentially entering the building for the purple and gold? Had fun kind of doing a depth chart breakdown, but news of the day as you enter the weekend here is going to be Rondale Moore, Purdue's finest, former Cardinal, and I believe he spent some time with the Falcons before having an awful injury just about a year and a half ago. He is visiting the Vikings today. That's a wide receiver answer potentially. Guy that can work in the slot, catch and run type of guy. Very talented. Had some good moments with the Cards. Hopefully he's healthy. But the Minnesota Vikings, you heard us, depth chart reactions and speculating. Well, Eric Wilson, former Viking, then a Packer. Now he's a Viking again, maybe filling out the depth of the inside linebacker position. So Eric Wilson is a Viking. Rondale Moore sounds like he's in town. Are we going to get a veteran QB to just squash this whole conversation altogether? Because it's J.J. McCarthy season. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to the program live from the KFAN press box. Big password event today. It's going to be a party, so stick with the Grum right around the corner here on the Fan. Have an awesome Friday afternoon and weekend.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21+. Terms and conditions apply.
Ever wake up feeling lousy, knowing something is off with your body? You don't have time for guesswork. You need Viome. Forget all the generic health fads. Viome doesn't tell you what you want to hear. It tells you what's actually going on inside your body. By analyzing your gut microbiome, Viome delivers a custom health plan that's as unique as your DNA. It's science, not nonsense. Want energy? Want better digestion? Viome has your back. Stop trusting amateurs. Go to Viome.com for a personalized gut professional now. Call StarStar Gut to get $110 off any test. That's StarStar 488 to receive a link to the offer.